So when I started Misfit Saints, how did I want it different from Midnight Mob? I think the biggest thing is in my head I was like, all right, I want Misfit Saints to tread more of the punk line, and less of the bigger rock stuff that we did. So I really liked the idea that Misfit Saints was going to be a three-piece. I think that's like the core of a lot of punk music, is like those three-piece punk bands. And I always saw Misfit Saints kind of being like that three-piece punk band that's just loud and it's like that controlled chaos, but just three people out of control, but in control at the same time. How does Misfit Saints differ from when it started as a solo project with me to the current lineup that it is? Well, when it first started and it was just me, I had like a vague idea of what it was. But I didn't really have any direction, more or less. I didn't know what was going to go on with it. I just knew like what I wanted song-wise, what I wanted the music to sound like. And now with the current lineup, I prefer it, obviously. It's always nice to have people to bounce ideas off of. And I think it's just a better way to write for the sound that I envision the band to be. I think we all work on a similar, from the same like mindset, more or less, and it's just nice to have people to bounce those ideas off of. So the original sound, with me recording everything myself and having Chris Matthews play drums, the original idea was to have that punk sound, but it was unfocused and there's a lot of layers of stuff, which again, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know if there would ever be a band playing this, so I was like, let me just go all out and make it sound how I hear it in my head. And that was that. And then Mickey and Alex joined the band, and the songs kind of got stripped down to like a more punk sound, which is actually the way I heard it in my head originally, surprisingly. So the original sound that I recorded differed with how it ended up being with the band, in the fact that the original sound was definitely more pop, I guess. Because again, there were no plans of playing it live, so it's one of those things you can take the liberty of being in a studio and making it sound as big as possible and as many layers as you want, because it's not really going anywhere. And if it was going somewhere, it'd probably be like playing with tracks by yourself somewhere. And the sound with the band now, it's more doable because we play live and we can make these sounds live, and we don't need to have a million tracks to get that sound across. And everyone's energy comes through on the recordings now, and it makes the sound better than the original solo recordings. So songwriting wise, now that I have a band as opposed to solo, I think I definitely think differently, in the fact that when I write now, there is a 100% anticipation of this is being played live, so people will hear it live. And the stuff I used to write, people probably would have never heard it. It was just like kind of was doing it for myself. So things kind of don't really make sense, but they made sense to me because I was recording it. But now, like writing wise, my biggest focus is live show. Like things that I want to see and hear in a live song, that's where my brain goes now when writing. So the solo recordings I did by myself, I think at some point we will release as B-sides. So most likely, they're not terrible recordings. Just, I don't know, it's weird for me to hear them now, knowing where the sound of the band has gone, and to look back at where it started. It's like a weird thing to hear, but it's interesting to hear, and I think releasing as a B-side is definitely a possibility.